Canada's first appearance as a host of soccer's biggest tournament has officially come to an end. It was the first time men's World Cup matches were played on Canadian soil as fans across the country celebrated the sport and watched the Canadian men's national team make history on the global stage. But beyond the excitement on the field, the tournament also delivered a major economic opportunity. From tourism and hospitality to local businesses and global exposure, the full financial impact of hosting the World Cup is now coming into focus. Joining me now to discuss the economic legacy of Canada's World Cup experience is Brendan Caldwell, Director of Caldwell Securities Limited. Brendan, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you very much, Theresa. Yay, football.
Now, Toronto hosted 6 World Cup matches between June 12th and July 2nd. What was it like for Toronto to be in the spotlight as a World Cup host city?
Oh, it's a great deal of fun. If we're just talking fun, Theresa, it was a wonderful party. Yeah, it's been half a dozen matches over several weeks, but then one is also watching the games go on in other cities, indeed in other countries. So it was quite a thing. Now, in fairness, it's kind of like hosting Thanksgiving dinner for your family. It's expensive, it's time consuming, it's exhausting, but it's good to do once in a while to keep relations uh, equitable. But Toronto is a fantastic place to enjoy the World Cup, probably the best place in the world to enjoy the World Cup, even if we're not hosting, because we got 50,000 of every nationality on earth. You have to consult your atlas to see all the, know all the flags because they all pop up no matter who's hosting, wherever it is in the world. Toronto gets really into this tournament every 4 years anyway.
Now, the action wasn't only on the pitch. When fans spread out like that, what does it mean for local businesses and the broader regional economy?
Well, I think it's been helpful. I think there'll be a fairly long tail to this one, Teresa, in that I do think it has helped raise Toronto's profile, not just in the sporting world, but overall. I think again, it's worth doing once in a while as sort of advertising, marketing. That it's hard to get a one-to-one correlation. I'm a big fan, particularly of the Olympics. So why is this relevant? Because what we saw in Toronto was that, in fact, the hotel rooms were not booked
Mm.
totally packed as they might have been much of the time. The reason I'm a fan of going to the Olympics in other people's countries is because it's the best way to enjoy that particular city. Because no one's going to take their dream trip to London or Paris if the Olympics happen to be there, which means that all the other tourist attractions tend to be fairly open. Now, with the World Cup, it's a little bit different in that, again, we have 50,000 of every nationality, although half the ticket buyers apparently were overseas coming from to here. I went to the Germany Cote d'Ivoire game and the Senegal Iraq game. I with all my glibness about how many Canadians are from somewhere else, I was surprised to see tens of thousands of people cheering for Germany, cheering for the Ivory Coast, cheering for Iraq and Senegal. So it was really quite an experience to be at those games. Um, so the whole experience I think was good for the city. When it comes to individual venues, restaurants, I think restaurants it's the single hardest business. There's I don't know how many thousand of them in Toronto, but I do think it helps to have sporting events that people care about, like like the Jays from last year and the World Cup this year. I do think it helps to boost business considerably, even if you happen to be in an Italian restaurant and the Italians, well, aren't in the tournament.
Well, staying on the topic of restaurants, Cristiano Ronaldo's family reportedly stopped by local Portuguese restaurants during Toronto's leg of the tournament. How much of a difference can big names like that make for small businesses in the city?
Well, I knew Ronaldo was recognizable. I didn't know his whole family were as recognizable as the Kardashians, but uh, I think it makes a difference. I mean, the Ronaldo was here, and apparently the Portuguese gave a tremendously positive review. They stayed in town after their game, uh, which I know of more than a few people, including one of my good friends and partners, had everything arranged to Vancouver because they figured Portugal was going to win its group and Ronaldo would play their round of 32 game in Vancouver. It's not how it worked out because they were right here. But I think it was a very positive thing for to have the Portuguese community, which is such a big part of our city, to have their superstar I mean, the only thing bigger would have been Nelly Furtado, but to have their superstar here in town and playing in front of what is basically for Portugal a hometown crowd. So I think that was great, and I believe they went to practice a couple days later at Centennial Field, and apparently that was a mob scene as
Mhm.
people stormed the stadium and by the thousands just to see him practice. So I think it was good for the communities here. I think like advertising, but overall good for the city.
Now, Vancouver was voted number one and Toronto was voted number three for host cities. All things considered, would you call Canada's World Cup a success?
Oh, I think so. I don't think we have to do it too often, but I do think it was a success. I think uh, we have an opportunity to do a lot of cross-border things. Give a chance for our government leaders to meet. I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but that's a whole other issue for a whole other time. But I do think it's a very positive thing for the country to have hosted this. For Canada, have to put on a really good showing to make the final 16 when you're maybe a 30th ranked team in the world. I think is a really good show for our guys, and I think we should do it again, maybe in 20 years' time.
Well, Brendan, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Teresa.